Welcome everyone who's still coming in to the eLabFTW community meeting. We just decided today that we're going to start sending slightly more frequent reminders about these meetings on our newsletter. So if you have not signed up to the newsletter, please do. I'm just going to find the link for you now. Okay, cool. So just to do some introductions, I'm Sydney. I'm the community manager and also the client success manager. And we're joined here by Mustafa and Elsa, who are our full stack developers, and also the founder and lead developer, Nico. So these are the people that you'd be communicating with if you are getting in touch with us on email. Just want to remind everyone about our Gitter channel too, which I think the link is there, but if not, I'll add it in a minute. It's a really good way to sort of find fast answers to things. And also I want to take this moment to let everyone know that we have updated the documentation for eLabFTW. So now if you are trying to find an answer to a specific thing, we're hoping that it will be easier, and there are going to be tutorials and special topics covered on the documentation. So definitely take a look at that. We're just trying to improve it all the time, and we hope that it just has all the answers that you need. So today we're really lucky to have two speakers who are going to talk about specific aspects and approaches to using eLabFTW. The first one is Dionysios Antipas from Heidelberg University at the Biochemistry Center. And Dionysios, I'll let you explain the title of your talk. So take it away. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm Dionysios Antipas. The topic of this presentation is the eLapi plugins we developed in Biochemistry Center in the University of Heidelberg. Together with Nele Drobnitsky, she's the research data manager. So, just a few words on who we are. As I said, we developed the plugins for the University of Heidelberg, and the goal is that the standard eLabFTW user can use our plugins and have an easier research data management. So it's not only a tool for admins, either eLabFTW or our eLapi plugins. The goal is that everybody can use it and manage to maintain and moving the resources, the experiments. And what we do is that we make the batch upload and the batch download of your research data easier. So it's easy to have an Excel file with all your data downloaded, or with the creation of a CSV file. It's possible that you upload many experiments or many resources on eLabFTW. And of course, you can also update them. So change some values or add some extra fields or an entry that you didn't add in a previous time. And the reason we decided to build the eLapi plugins is that Datablot could not currently prioritize in improving the multi-entry up and download. So we took the decision to fill this gap for our community, to make everything easier for the standard user, and that's why we created the eLapi plugins. What the plugins exactly are. So it's a desktop application. We have the source code on our GitHub webpage, and we also have the installers for all three major OSs. And you can download them, install them on your computer. You just need to create an API key on eLabFTW, and then you enter the key, and you can use our plugins, which was built on the eLapi Python framework of the computing center of the University of Heidelberg. That's why it's also called eLapi. We can start with the exports. So here you can see the workflow of the exports. You can choose either resources or experiments, and the result is an Excel workbook, which is closer to what people are used to. And then you have an Excel file with all your data in columns. You can create a table, you can form it, you can do whatever, all operations you can do in an Excel file. And that's actually the result of the export. And here's an example. On the left side, you see a list overview of the existing resources we have on eLab. And on the right side, you can see some a certain resource with the extra fields. And what we want is that we have the extra field, the title, all the information you see here on the right side. We want to have it in an Excel file. So you can see here a small demonstration of how it works. So this is our graphical user interface. And you see we have selected export. We chose resources and nucleic acids and vectors, and then we will download our nucleic acids and vectors. You can give a name, which is optional. And as you see, it's being downloaded as an Excel file, which you can use afterwards. And this is the result. So as we said, the result is an Excel file. As you see, you have, I don't know if you can see my mouse. We have the ID of each resource, title, and of course, all extra fields are in a separate column, and you have a much better overview of your data. Another feature we have is a batch import. So in order to make an import, you have to create a CSV file, and each row corresponds to a resource or an experiment. And you have to create columns. Each column has a name of an extra field or a normal field like a title or tags or whatever you need. And what you have to do is you have to upload this CSV file. So this is an example of a CSV file for the batch import of 6 resources. You see we have a title, lab ID, and other information. Most of them are extra fields, and this is what's going to be uploaded on eLabFTW. And I can show you a video again on how it works. So what we're going to do, we import a resource using the plasmid template. So as you see, we select the plasmid, we select the CSV file, and we click on import resources. And we also have the message that we imported 3 resources on eLabFTW. And here's the result. As you see, we imported some resources. It's normal on eLabFTW. We have the correct category. We have the category, and it was uploaded. And now we come to the part of the update. So in case you want to change something, or you forgot anything, or you have any new things that you have to add in your entry, what you have to do is to use our update function. So you have to select the import and activate the update existing button. And what you need is a column called resource ID or experiment ID. And then you have to have your entry or your extra field as a column and the new value you want to add. If you forget to add a resource ID or an experiment ID, then you will get an error message that the column is missing and you have to add it. So no mistakes can happen. And of course, all columns are case insensitive, so you don't have to worry about it. You just have to type the name of the column. And what happens in this case is that you perform the upload. Sorry, I go one slide back. You see the exact number of the resources or experiments that was updated. In this green box, we see that we updated 3 existing resources. And this is the result. On the left side, we have the before status. So before we wanted to update the parent plasmid. You see that here we don't have an ID. And in our CSV file, we gave an ID. And then it was uploaded and it was also linked. So it's not that you can only upload the text, but you also, it recognizes the IDs and you can link your experiments or your plasmids or whatever you have. So this is the status after the update. So this were more or less what we developed. And as I mentioned before, the objective is to make a structured eLabFTW data practical for the normal user without any coding experience or without having to deal with anything else. And our current priorities now are the support for renaming and modifying extra fields. Up to that point, what you can do is to update some fields, as I showed you, but you cannot rename the fields. And what we also are working on is the function of downloading some templates. So we have it as a button, it's inactive, but I hope that it's going to be activated in the coming days. So if you use our software and you find any bugs or operational problems, please contact me, send an email, or open an issue on our GitHub. You can find our GitHub repository if you scan the first QR code. For anything else, you can contact Nele. She's also in the meeting, so if you have any questions for Nele, I think she could answer them. And of course, the people of SFB 1638 and current projects can be found on our website, which is in the second QR code. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dionysus. I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate this tool. And that's great that everyone can use it. So definitely check out the repository. Nico just posted it. Do we have any questions? We have the Q&A function, and we also have the chat. Maybe try to use the Q&A function if you can. Loritz is asking, thanks for the presentation. Why did you choose to export in XLSX format but import in CSV?
Yes, so we export in Excel format because I think that most users in labs generally are used to that, so it's more convenient for them. It's actually easier. You can create a table, you have this Excel file, and you can format it into a table, sort, or do whatever you want. On the other hand, all this data stored in Excel files are not needed for the upload. So CSV format is easier. You just have to have a delimiter. By the way, eLabFTW plugins recognize a delimiter. It's not that you have to use a comma or a semicolon. And yeah, that's the reason why we use a CSV format for the upload. And if you have an Excel table, you can convert it immediately into a CSV file and you can upload it. I hope this answers your question.
Great. I think there's another question. Yes, from Andrew. Did you provide any training or guidance for users? I'm thinking about whether people end up keeping two separate data sets, such as the Excel files and the ones in eLabFTW, and whether this would ever cause issues.
So about the training or guidance, we have the README file on our GitHub repository. We have all important information there. About training sessions, I don't think that we're offering like that, something like that. But if you needed something, you should contact us, and then we can, I don't know, sort things with the university. Unfortunately, I don't know that I can give you a precise answer about that. And about people keeping two separate data sets. So I have to, no, this shouldn't cause an issue because if you have an Excel file, it's a local file, and eLabFTW is on a server, so it's two different files. So if I understand your question, there shouldn't be a problem.
I think maybe the question from Andrew is that people can export their stuff from eLab into a file,
Yes.
and then they modify the file, and then their colleague modify the entry in eLab, and then you have a conflict. You have a conflict because then you have two versions of the same database. You see?
Yes, it will have to. It will have to be re-downloaded. Then you just download an Excel file. So if somebody modifies it, then you have a different.
Yeah, but
data.
Imagine you modify your own Excel file on your desktop to update some stuff, and then your colleague modify it on eLab. If you re-download another file, how do you reconciliate the two changes? You see, you have diverging information. That's, I think, the question from Andrew.
Yes. Actually, the only thing I can think about it is the versioning on eLabFTW. So you have to go back on the versions and see what changes happened. Otherwise, if you upload something, it's being overwritten. There is no versioning or something like that in our plugin. So if you upload it and it's overwritten, then it's an action which cannot be revoked.
So I guess you'd have to have a system set up so that people would only be updating entries that they know about, or they would just need to be aware of this. And I wanted to say, Nele pointed out that it's important to say, and I think this is a really amazing feature of this tool, that so currently you can't upload things where they will automatically be inserted into a template, but this tool allows that to happen. So if you upload something, use the setup templates that exist already without overwriting the JSON, but just with modifying it. And I'm going to try to learn more about this so that I can help with the training of using this tool. And she also says that if there's need for more discussion, we can set up a separate meeting with the CRC team. Maybe we could create some sort of piece in the documentation just explains how to use this tool and just answers these individual questions, because it seems like this is going to be really useful for a lot of people.
Genesis, if you can make a pull request to include a link to your repository in our documentation on the import-export page, I think it would be great. And if you don't do it, I will do it. But if you can do it, it's nice. Because
we just have two more.
Place for it.
Oh, sorry. We just have two more questions. So one is, are you going to keep updating the tool when the API of eLabFTW changes?
So we are not using the API of eLabFTW. We are using the API of the Heidelberg University. It's called eLapi. So we are updating the tool when the eLapi API changes. So that's a
you have a layer. You have a layer, but it's still using the API from eLab.
Yeah. I mean, we don't use directly your API. We're using it indirectly. So if your API changes, I think the question goes to the University of Heidelberg whether they're going to change eLapi or not. So that's the answer to that question. And the other question,
does it work for experiments with embedded images or tables?
Yes. So if you want to attach it as a file, yes, of course, everything is being uploaded. And if you have a table in your main text, then it's also being uploaded as a body. But we don't have a function to upload a table as a table, only if you have it as an Excel file or a CSV file. So everything which is attached can be uploaded. Everything that can be attached will be uploaded.
Okay. Amazing. Any final questions? This seems really exciting. I'm really looking forward to learning how to use it. If anyone has more questions about this and they need to be put in contact with the right people, just let me know. We're definitely looking forward to using this tool. Okay, thank you so much, June. This is great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's move on to our second presenter, which is Leonid Bovkun. And he's a postdoc and a chair for applied physics at the University of Würzburg. And I'll let him explain the title of his presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leonid, and I would like to thank organizer for inviting me to this meeting. This is my first meeting, and I've seen YouTube videos and understand a little bit what you're discussing. I would like to bring another perspective, user perspective into discussion, and also from physics background, because I don't want to insult anyone, but to me, like all of these container things, it's not very useful for physicists because we don't use molecules and these things, but I would like to give you what we have. Let me just do a pointer option. Yes, you see my slides, everything is good. So I'm going to talk about how we use eLabFTW for the project management and development of exciting infrared devices. And I'm going to show how we bring people data and this excitement. And what else bringing people together is another point, which is we see at the bottom of the slide. This is like a funding agency they would like to acknowledge. This is Federal Ministry of Research, Technology and Space through the program of quantum system. We also have support through a Cluster of Excellence CTD QMAT between Würzburg and Dresden, and Free State of Bavaria also financially support some of the projects that I'm involved into. But let's first talk about people and make it a little bit a personal story. So I already start to struggling with data management during my PhD because we take samples from Novosibirsk, we then measure them in Grenoble in high field lab, and then all of this data collected, analyzed, and Nizhny Novgorod to produce papers and other contributions to the conference and things like this. So during my PhD, I believe I master all kind of personal organization. I use different tools, starting from like paper notes, using Origin, MATLAB for batch processing, and of course we use Microsoft products and email for exchange. And also, I mean, basically how you master it, you start looking for the data, you cannot find it, and then you basically reshuffle of your data structure in your local storage the way you can find it faster next time. And at some point you realize, okay, this cannot continue further like this. And by the time I moved to Würzburg as my first postdoc at Experimental Physics Dry 3 chair with Professor Mollenkamp, they already started this pilot project with the lab back in 2020. So Florian Bayer set up the team for Kissling Group, and the Jonas Schwab and Florian Goze was responsible for infrastructure. So we have a shared instance with the P4. And since then, all of my individual measurements are actually written in the lab, and they are backed up and maintained at the servers. And 6 years later, I keep the same institute, but I go to another chair. Now it's led by Professor Sven Höfling, and I'm working in a group of Fabian Hartmann when I have to start from the scratch, basically, as start a new team with new experiments, new data entries, and further things. What I want to also give you at the very beginning, like the system is now hosted by CTD QMAT Research Data Management. The website is here. And I don't know much details, but I have seen a relevant talk by Nicole Parks, how they set it up for Aachen. I can just give you a link here. You can follow further. I'm not going to do much, just to acknowledge CTD QMAT Research Data Management Center. Another reference also I want to give, which is important for my talk, it is a lab in teaching. The talk also was a year back by Isabel Schmitz, when they introduce how it can be used for lab courses for students. And my perspective, it's very important that we start showing students how to populate the entries manually, so not afraid. When you go like to the higher level, you know how to use it. And there also was some examples. What I want to say is that in contrast to the research environment, the courses are more practical. They don't change that often. Of course, they adjusted to the time, to new instruments, but in actual research and development, things are very, very fast. So you have changes every week on a weekly scale, and it's a bit harder to track. And these slides, I don't want to give much detail, just want to give you the perception, how many parameters you have to take into account to track development of infrared detector. For example, it is based on results from thesis of Andreas Bader. We basically start from project input, wavelengths and detectivity, and then you do some calculation. You design layer structures. You see like here, like more than 30 layers within 75 nanometer thickness. So this is at atomic levels of few monolayers, and then of different materials. And depending how thick each of these layers, you get different properties. This is stage number 1. Then you need to actually grow. So this is image, okay, so here's the thickness versus energy, band structure calculation. Here is actually the ultra high vacuum instrument with multiple atomic sources when we have to grow a perfect crystal corresponding to what we calculated. And then after you grow, you basically do characterization using another set of different instruments, some of them commercial, some of them we built ourselves, basically to validate that what we have grown correspond to what we've done. Once you get this covered, you then create another complexity. You create a device out of this. So you take your thin films, and then you go to clean room or give it to technicians, and then they have to do some further step like etching, passivation, put metal contacts so you can put current through your devices. And finally, yes, you end up with device, you do performance, you measure some key parameters, and now you want to change something. And basically, the idea, you need to collect input from other people. And it's super hard because some calculations are stored on the computer of a student, some measurements are stored on the corresponding computers in the clean room. Some measurements are done by another person, which have their own Excel table, how they process this and this and this. And of course, you can collect everything. That takes a lot of data. And then the problem that people, the question of how you can reproduce it. And people already aware, issues discussed. For example, a few years back, there was a conference about reproducibility issue in condensed matter physics. And here by the link, you can find the report by these people who have gathered and discussed. And of course, one of the solutions basically to spend a little bit more time when you do your measurements, that you protocol it properly, and you can then find it and refer to it. I here refer to the paper of 2016 about fair guiding principles that motivate you to support discovery through proper data management. And then this is just to demonstrate you. For example, this is an image you can find somewhere on a data folder of a student, that this is emission of the laser. You can get some information from the picture itself, from the figure description, and also basically maybe from the way it's stored. You see it's Leonid samples, ICL means quantum intercascade, interband cascade lasers, and sample ID. You get something, but what you don't get is basically raw data, how it's actually interferogram, how this was measured, with which beam splitter, with which sources. It's challenging to reproduce just because the origin container, first it's proprietary, but also it's not saves the data automatically, and this is a problem. And of course, I'm not going to give here much of details. In the lab, you can add extra fields. You can add fields. You can use dplate, which will guide you which information to record. You can use complementary links between entries. You can link your raw data storage when you store it on a computer. You can link your method and relevant experiments to compare. There are some fields of the entry, like owner team tags you can use, and then you can share it with external collaboration or using API. And just if you already put the same image in a lab and add some information, it became much more plausible for keeping track of the research. And this is one of the solutions that I came up with. Basically, in our case, in our research and development, what we have to bridge is devices, data, and people. So data is calculations and measurements that you do for these devices. You also want to keep track of the method guides, how you measure this and this particular plot. You also want to keep track of the samples, because we send the samples to different collaborator, and then we have to supply these samples was processed in this way or was grown for this design. And we need to keep track what we send where. And we also have an idea to track the contribution, who give a talk where, which samples, which results he use. You also want to make it accessible to a different set of people. For example, that people who make the device can talk to each other, who design, who grow, who do lithography and characterization. They can see each other's steps and understand better. You can also introduce knowledge transfer more easily because things are recorded. You can report for the project partners or sponsor or reviewers if you make a publication. And this is, now let's put a sample in the middle of the room. This is one of the example of infrastructure that I can think one can use just to give you an idea. So we put a sample. Each sample can be measured different ways. It can have different experimental categories, which are listed here, from scanning electron microscopy to photoluminescence. In turn, each of these measurements, for example, electron microscopy, can be given a different experimental machines. They have different properties, and then you cannot one-to-one compare the results. You have to keep it in mind that different machines have different properties. Or, for example, if you move one instrument from one room to another, you may also want to keep track of this. The entry itself can be saved to keep description and guides, like internal wiki of the instrument. And sometimes we actually build the system ourselves from many components. In this sense, you want to keep track of equipment. When you maintain it, what you have exchanged, how it works, you can keep manual service notes and parts. And you can go even further to equipment. You can connect when it was light maintenance, which part you replace and which, because eventually all of these parameters can affect the way you look at your data. And if you now think from other perspective, like from the management perspective, you can also organize things as a project. It's described in the eLab documentation, when you can link equipment, or you can also see the experiments done in the timeline. You can also track the money, which equipment was purchased, and which reports contribute to this project. So if you're manager of few projects, you can just go to eLab, you can click on this tag, and then you have better overview compared to conventional data structure. You can also track contribution. It's very similar to publications like meeting reports or poster, and this is like complete publication, where often the problem is that you say sample ABC, and even within the group, then it takes some time to understand what is actually a label of the sample AR and where the measurements are stored. And eLab can be a very nice solution for this. I don't remember that it actually can be accepted as like a probable data repository, so you cannot probably link it to a paper, but maybe this is a thing of further improvement. And these umbrella resources can be also flexible depending on what you're trying to reach. So my conclusion I just wrote here on this slide, that's it's actually already, even for a small group, it's already efficient. Even if I do alone, I probably will use eLabFTW because it brings much more transparency and data accessibility to different kind of measurements using this flat hierarchy instead of folder structure. It helps improve data discoverability, and you can use guides and templates to report what is important in a consistent way. For academic environment, eLab is also quite flexible in a sense. You can introduce new categories, new ways of talking devices, new data types. You can also automate. This is something we have not yet explored very much, but I know there's a lot of meetings, and the previous speaker was also using API to export the data and give another overview. This was not very covered, but I just leave here link to the previous talk by Philip Zeber about pipelines, and you can use for processing the raw data reported in eLab. Just to, at the end, I would like to ask a question, how to be an effective in documentation. So in reality, optimistically saying 1 of 20 samples I get published. And then of course you need to provide this supporting documentation for it, for hiring journal. But what to do with another 19? Do you want to spend time reporting everything you did in the lab because there is a chance you will never use it? The answer that I find personally, this is of course a philosophical question, an open question, I guess everyone have a chance. Sometimes it's actually more important the way you get to this like 20 sample, because if you want to reproduce it, you want to see what you grow before, what you produced before, what was your calculation before you reach your goal. And this also can be very helpful. And if you don't protocol it, then this data is lost and harder to reproduce your result. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Leonid. Wow, it looks like you might have some interesting suggestions as we move forward into trying to add some new project management and sort of increasing the abilities to link between different entries. So I'm curious what you'll think about that, and excited to see what you do next. Do you have any questions? Or comments? Okay, well, if no one has anything to say for now, we can move on into the next part of the meeting, which is more of an open conversation. So thank you so much to Leonid and Dionysus. I really, really appreciate you guys sharing what you've been working on. And we got a question that comes through, but I'll just finish my sentence, which is, if there's something you'd like to talk about at one of these meetings, or you'd like to nominate someone else to talk about these meetings, feel free to let us know. We're always interested to know what people would like to hear about. Okay, so there is a question from Jan, which is, to which data storage do your links point? Our university is using OneDrive and we have problems with broken links from eLab.
Okay, thank you for the question. We are just a small, not a small, we are a big chair, but we just have a common storage. That's everyone have a network drive. It's not OneDrive, it's just something that we provide ourselves, and then we just link internal path. So it will not be accessed anywhere outside of the network, but for internal use, this is what we are doing. And then if needed, Sometimes we also upload something directly to eLab, but most of the time it's just a link to the raw data because we want to automate the backup, and also we don't want to duplicate the raw data both in eLab and on the measurement PCs.
Yeah, I can see how this would be an unfortunate problem when you have broken links. Any other questions? Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to invite Nico, who wanted to present some of the news about what is happening right now in terms of development, and also we've made some clarifications about how the release schedule works. So let's move on to that part.
Yes. Yeah, regarding first the some internal changes in our project management in the repository, in the code and everything, is that before I used to create one repository for each thing. And so we had a repository for eLabFTW, we had a repository for the Docker image, we had a repository for other things we still have. And the idea now is to merge them all together into one repository so that the code lives together and is coherent and cohesive. And when you make a change that change some stuff, you don't need to also make another change in another repository that they both need to be merged at the same time. So it facilitates things. It allows us also to keep an eye on things that sometimes we forget, like from time to time, I discover a past project, a past repository that I completely forgot about, or some pull requests that are left open because we never get a look at them because we never go on this page. So really the idea is to have a coherent system. And we, starting from version 5.6, we will also build the CAM plugin directly with the release system, so we can align the release number for the CAM plugin and for the for eLab. We might do also the same for the open cloning plugin. This way, you know that you will have like one single version for everything, and it will be the same. So this change also goes into another one, which is how we manage branches into the development workflow. So when you do development and you use Git, you can have branches of development that points to different state of the code base. And so what we do now is that we have release branches. So we've changed completely how we do the branching workflow in Git. And the release branches allow us more easily to maintain past releases longer, although at this point we don't really want to do it. And in fact, I explained in a blog post why it was complicated for us to have long-term release. And this is in this... j'ai pas la... Attends. Tout le monde... Okay, so this blog post is basically to explain that there are so many moving parts that trying to maintain things for too long is just a nightmare, and it's easier to update. But at the same time, it's also nice to have stable release. So it's kind of we have to find the nice, the better position between having to update every 2 weeks and having a stable version that has not too many bugs, that has no security vulnerabilities, which is the hard part because we literally receive 5 vulnerabilities every week from other dependencies that we have, and transitive dependencies also. So yeah, that's the thing, the new thing. So now we are releasing much more often, and we want to also target smaller releases. So instead of having big release every 4, 5, 6 months, let's go with smaller release that allow to have less changes and to be less scared of updating, and we hope that people can still update quickly. What I want to show you also right now would be the... Attends, Chromium GitHub. The new version, so I'm currently working on it, so it's not finished, it's not done, it's really completely work in progress. But so there are two things. One thing would be the accessibility aspect of it. So it is important that the application is accessible regarding the WCAG standard or the RGA for the French. And accessibility in that context means having a good contrast on the text and the background, having buttons that you can click that are correctly labeled, having labels on forms, on inputs, having tab navigation, so that you can navigate with the tab key on the different places of the application. And so these are all things that are important for many reasons. And we really worked a lot with Elsa on improving basically the accessibility aspect of eLab. And so that's why you can feel already the contrast are different. So we worked a lot also to have a nice contrast in both light and dark theme. And as you can see also, the links are a bit different, and the icons, you see, they are different also. We have a nice feeling also when you over it. And they are slightly bigger. And we change also, for instance, here you see this effect on the tab. Eventually, we will probably move, at least for this page, on the left panel, because we start to have too many things here on the top. And we moved a lot of things around. What I want to show you is that here the search bar now is not flashing in a different background color when you load the page, because this was pissing me off. So I see that there is a little glitch that first it shows search in experiment and then it shows search, but I will work on that. The filter, I want to completely rework this because it's ugly as fuck and I really want to have something better. And now also all the filters here, the category, statue, owner, tags, so it's the same stuff as before, but also what I'm doing right now is actually making this active filters. There will be a line here so that when you click on a filter, you see the filter, you will have a little cross to remove it. So really to improve the way that you can filter things and that you can search for things with different filter and be very clear about what is active and what is not. And currently the table mode doesn't work anymore because I broke it, because that's how it is when you develop new things. What is interesting also is that all of this is using the Svelte reactive library, meaning that, as you can see, when I click a link, I click a tag to add a tag filter, it is reloading super fast. And something also nice is that we have live search. So now you can simply type stuff and you see the result popping up when you're typing. So I think this is also a great user experience feature. And we also have, let me just remove the stuff. We also have infinite scrolling. So now you can just scroll until your finger is tired. So this is also something nice that we can have in the application. So basically we work on making the application nicer to navigate, nicer to use, faster also to use. For me, it's something that we sometimes have as a feedback of users of the software. They really enjoy the fact that it is fast. And for me, it is not fast enough, but we are working to make it faster, meaning at least even the perceived speed of it, because we all love working. I mean, at least I do love working with something that is fast. And nowadays, websites tend to get bigger and bigger with bloat and with sometimes it crashes your computer because there is like some memory leaking, and then you realize that this website was using 16 gigabytes of memory. So sometimes things become crazy, and I really want to keep a tool that you can use every day that is fast and easy to use and that you understand right away and that is clear. Something that's very important, that everything is clear. So yeah, that's it for the interface. Of course, we have many other things that we want to implement, but implementing all of these things take time. We have many feature requests every day, and we need to prioritize some. So one of the things that I would like to implement next would be to have some sort of parent-child relationship so that you can tuck something be under another thing, like to have one that is the parent of another. We have some ideas about project management and having a dedicated project tab so that you can also manage the permission for a given project. So yeah, we have all of these ideas that we want to implement. Also having the possibility to have many values for extra fields, for custom fields. Now we name custom fields. So yeah, many things that are in the works. There is the offline version also that we are working on next week, but Sina will let you, next week, but next community meeting, Sina will let you discuss at the end what we have in mind for that. I think, yeah, that's all I wanted to show you, the fact that we are now moving to a reactive application, so that eventually also we might have collaborative edition in this text also. We'll probably need to have Redis to deploy this. Yeah, so it's all evolving, and it's still the same tool. It's just that every time we change some things, we make it better little by little, and yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, better with your input, everyone. So Nico, you've got a few questions. One is, does infinite scrolling mean infinite selection?
Infinite selection?
Like, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but maybe like you could select all sort of, there's no maximum on the number of entries you could select at once.
I mean, yeah, like the selection when you click the checkbox. Yeah. And in fact, there is a feature that I find nice every time that I use it on GitHub. When you have a list of notification, you can click select all to select the 25 that are shown on the page. And then next to it, you have select all 732 notification. And then you can click that. And I think this would be pretty useful for us. For instance, let's say you used a tag. It's basically to have the batch action stuff, but in the normal mode where you can filter by tag, but you have 100 entries. And so you don't have to scroll until the end and then click select all. You can click select all and then click, yeah, I want the 101, not the 15 that are shown on the page. So yeah, I think that would also be under the workflow of modifying some parameter of a bunch of entries at the same time easier.
One more question from Hussein. It's great to see that the used filters are indicated. Will there be a button such as an X to remove individual filters?
Use filter, yeah, indicated would be, yeah, exactly, yeah, that's the idea. I will add a X, yeah. Yeah.
And then another one from Florian. It would be cool to see how many total items there are per filter, such as if there's no filter, you have this many items, but if you set the filter for something, then you have this many selected.
Yeah, this has been a long time issue with that, is that when we make a query to the database that is holding the record, so the MySQL database, we make a query such as, give me the 15 first that you find, and then maybe we can have an offset to select the 15 next ones. And currently, we don't do like select all of them and count them. I think it's just because of some performance issues that you can have when you have to actually read all the rows to count them. Like if you have 100,000 rows, it can be long, but I think it's a false excuse that I'm trying to find, because we probably could have another query that would just count things with just focusing on one ID column, which is indexed, and probably it won't take too long. But I agree with you that not knowing how many entries you have on the page or with this filter is not great. And for the moment, we didn't have time to implement that. But yeah, it would be nice to have this.
Another question from Andrew: would there be a way to save search combinations for reuse as searches get more complex? This might be helpful.
Yeah, something also that I have in my mind to save queries for later. So right now you can still bookmark queries, so you can bookmark pages and it will work every time you reuse the bookmark. So that's one way to do it. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to save them to your profile. So that why not also share them with your team or some other people. But yeah, for the moment, because you see a lot of things are not implemented because there is a reasonable workaround. So that's why they are not a priority. And in this case, the reasonable workaround is to bookmark the research that you want so that you can come back to it later.
I guess you could say bookmark, or just to make that really clear to some users. So as you add new filters in your search, the URL builds into a longer string. So if you copy the URL from a search, you could save that as a link in one of your resource entries, for example, that's just called saved searches. And that would be a way to just document those searches that are more elaborate and complicated to construct. A few questions coming in here. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. So next one is, it's exciting to know there are so many improvements coming. I'm wondering how the priority is worked out, such as, is it community voting? It's crucial for us to enforce the use of resource templates to support shared metadata standards. It would be great to know how important it is for others in the community. I have an idea about the answer of this one. It's a custom development requests is the greatest way to prioritize the feature that you would like. Other than that, getting involved in the discussion to just give us an idea of how many other users are really looking for a certain feature is really helpful. I'm going to just put a link right now to a conversation about project management and sort of linking kinds of tools right now. This is really the time. I know many people have made issues and talked about things like this for a long time, but please link those issues here and just take the time to tell us your sort of top project management type improvements that you would like to see, because we're just kind of planning that stuff right now.
Regarding this question, Moose actually implemented the resource template force usage. So key, your request is actually already implemented and will be available in the next release. And yes, regarding the priority of how we manage like we literally have maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 feature requests per day. So how do we prioritize it? As Sydney mentioned, custom development is really the best way to get what you want in the software. And otherwise, we also discuss between ourselves what are the priorities, because Sydney is directly linked with the research data manager community and the community of users. And so she has also a good idea of the kind of things that people are asking the most. And so we try to implement the ones that we feel are the most important and that will be the most useful to the larger user base.
Yeah, also really helpful to hear people's strategies for working around issues that they don't see a feature for. It's really helpful for us to kind of understand what would be the most helpful, to see what kinds of things you've done. So I'm really interested in knowing people's specific sort of project management strategies right now as we try to plan for the future. There's another question here. This may be related. Our group has the default visibility setting that all new experiments and resources are visible to the full team, and people are complaining that this is getting too chaotic with too many items that are not relevant to any particular user. Perhaps the live search gets around this, but otherwise, how do you handle this? Do you use tags or do you limit the visibility by default?
This is the scope setting. Basically, if you don't want to see the stuff from the rest of your team, you set the scope to only my stuff, and then you only see your stuff. So then you remove completely the chaos. And then, of course, if you want to see some of the stuff from some of the people of your team, but not everything, no, you cannot do that. It's either you see everything from your team and even things from outside your team if you set the scope to everyone, but otherwise the scope button is saved. So if you set it to yourself on the experiment page, every time you go to the experiment page, you will see only your own experiments.
They just followed up to say that the problem is with two users working together. So this might be solved by the implementation of a project concept in eLabFTW, so that when you're working on a specific thing, you can filter to just the project that those entries are associated with. The other thing you could do is just have a specific tag for the things that you want to see and filter by that tag regularly. But yeah, it's just an issue of there's not one solution for everyone because everyone is collaborating in such different ways. So sort of have to develop your own system. All right. So do we have any, I know that we're at the hour now, so I understand if some people have to leave. We can keep going if people want to keep talking. This is, it's great to have the community together. But yeah, if you have to leave now, please just take a look at this GitHub page about project management and just weigh in. Now is the time. We're going to start making some long-term plans. So also very curious to know, we're looking at what other ELNs, a lot of people are migrating their data to eLabFTW right now, which is super exciting. And we're sort of curious what kinds of functionalities people might feel that they're missing when they arrive. So please let us know so that we can just be as welcoming as possible to people who are discovering eLabFTW for the first time. There's one question, will there be a way to remove a sysadmin from a team?
Yeah. For the moment, the removing someone from a team is kind of hidden because of the issues that we discovered when you remove someone that has some entries in a team and then they're not part of the team, like the things disappear in the nether because they are not linked to someone anymore. So that's why right now you have to archive it. Something also that I think will be helpful to a lot of sysadmins is the possibility to impersonate users. I think this will be very nice if you want to debug some issues that some user encounter, like to be able to impersonate them and to be logged in as them, I think would also help a lot.
There's one more question about, this is about using user groups to sort of like, I guess, control what entries people see if they're feeling like it's getting too chaotic. You could use user groups, and you could have a user group that's specific to a certain template version that's used by those specific people. I think that's what you meant, Andrew.
Sina, you want to finish with the next community meeting topic?
Yeah, so next community meeting is going to be June, when is it?
16.
Exactly? Thank you. June 16 at 3 p.m. Paris time. And we're not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to have the more open discussion topic, or sorry, open discussion format, that one where we talk specifically about the ELN file format and the tools that we've been developing around that. So for people who don't know about the ELN file format, we'll talk about the ELN consortium, how the ELN file format came about and what it is. And then we're hopefully going to be opening our template sharing website to the public for testing, with the hope that it could be tested throughout the summer. And then the dream would be that it is available for use in September. So I don't know if anyone hasn't heard about the template sharing website, but the idea is that you can upload and download ELN file formats and search for them on this site. And so the idea would be that when you're inside eLabFTW and you're looking for a new template, you could search ones that have been uploaded by other users on this website. And so then you would have ideas about ways to structure your entries, from people all over the world. So it's very open science oriented. And so I think we'll probably be having an open discussion and presentation about those two topics. There's a small possibility if someone has a really compelling presentation that we could fit that in there too. But everyone who signed up for the newsletter will receive more information about the link and so on, how to join that meeting, and as well as any updates that are important to know about between now and then. So if there's nothing else to talk about today, then I guess we will thank our presenters one more time and thank everyone for being here and for asking your questions. And feel free to join us on the Gitter or also the GitHub. Also, we have accounts on various social media, so you can follow us there. But yeah, great to see everyone. And we will see you online and also in June, hopefully.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.